We have got to talk about this movie. For context, I went and saw Marty Supreme yesterday. On a whim. I was like, it's the Noodle Boy. I have liked him in other things. Dune was pretty great. Got me to read the books. Let me go see Marty Supreme. I went. Opening scene happened. It was weird. The whole theater was laughing. The movie proceeded to get more weird. And as it went on, I had the horrible realization that I really needed to talk to someone about it. So hi, welcome back to my channel, and cheers to fucking Timothée Chalamet for making me start my YouTube channel again. Start my YouTube channel again? I don't know, I just upload a video every couple years. It's just for me. But this is probably gonna be a really lightly edited video. I just wanted to talk about this. I saw Marty Supreme, as I already stated. I went to work. On my way to work, completely not related to the movie. I had already planned this. I brought Jean-Paul Sartre's Existentialism as a Humanism. This book, at least my version, has the Existentialism as a Humanism lecture, and then it also has in the back Sartre's commentary on The Stranger, which, if you don't know, you should. It's one of his more popular things, along with The Myth of Sisyphus. It's a very short novella by Albert Camus, another existentialist and an absurdist. I personally love absurdism. I came to it actually through a lot of mental health issues, maybe not shockingly. For credentials, I just graduated with my master's in English literature, and while I was in college I also had a minor in philosophy and worked as an editor on Boston University, my university's undergraduate philosophy journal, RK. And I was a senior editor at one point, so I know a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. In college, I ran across a YouTube video on The Myth of Sisyphus by Camus, and it absolutely blew my mind. And ever since then, I have loved existentialism. I have loved absurdism specifically. And tying this back, I think Marty Supreme is a beautiful, gross, weird existentialist film. I've seen online a lot of people who have a lot of differing opinions on this movie. Pretty much all of them I disagree with. I'm just gonna read some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews. It's getting really good reviews overall, as it should. It's a great movie. Besides the philosophical aspect, wonderfully acted. Even Kevin O'Leary, who I hate that man, but he acted well. Noodle Boy, fantastic job as always. Really hot woman who I can't remember her name right now, I'm so sorry. She plays Rachel. I'm in love with her. Great job as well. Yeah, it has a 94% on the tomato meter, 83% on the popcorn meter, so people are really liking this film. This was also my first Safdie film, to clarify, and I have looked it up, and it seems like some of his other films are also very philosophical. Popping in to say, I now do realize that there are actually two Safdie directors. They're brothers. I swear I'm not stupid, I just don't know a lot about them. But now I'm kind of going on a deep dive because they're super cool. I really want to watch Uncut Gems now because people have said that that one is very nihilist specifically. And so I'm really interested in that. A lot of people are saying it's too long. I agree a little bit, but not that much. Thelma Adams says it's weighed down by a hefty 149-minute running time, more suitable for apocalypse now. A lot of people are saying the story is mid. Linda Holmes says Timothy Chalamet is mesmerizing to watch in this, which is an accomplishment because I'm not sure I care that much about this story. Hillary A. White says Timothy Chalamet is outstanding as the never say die anti-hero you'll want to both cheer on and strangle, often in the space of a single scene. Nikki F. says, walked out. Can't say I've done that since Mother. Haha, literally no premise to the storyline. Not understanding the hype for this movie. No character development outside of narcissistic personality on full display through the whole thing. Can't tell you if it all led up to some grand ending because we walked out. Tom D. We left early after 2.25 hours of madness. Story goes in too many directions and there are really no sympathetic characters. Surprised by all the great reviews. Character is an awful human being. Michael K. Almost walked out twice. Too many plot points. Lisa Marie. Subpar acting. Don't agree with that at all. Dull in a lot of ways. Just too much. Okay, so you kind of get the vibe. A lot of people are saying that this movie is crazy. It is. It's wild. It is so entertaining in a way that The Stranger isn't. There is a lot of high-speed fun. There's a lot of action. There's comedy. I think there's comedy in The Stranger too. So does Sart. I might get into that. We shall see. But yeah, this movie's funny. People were laughing from the beginning. Literally, oh, by the way, major spoilers up ahead. Just if that wasn't already obvious. The opening. Marty takes this girl, he's in his shoe selling store, selling shoes. Girl walks in, takes her to the back, sneaks her in. You already see some conflict with his uncle, and you see that he's very narcissistic, very self-absorbed, and also a bit of a manipulator, of a con man, in how he sells his shoes. And takes this girl to the back. There's this very brief sex scene. Damn, I need to watch this movie again. But, sex scene, and then opening credits. The opening credits are sperm going and conceiving a child with an egg. Like, it is an animated, like, sperm going into an egg. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know. I'm not a STEM person. Editing Tama here. The word you were looking for was implantation, babe. Implantation. To be fair, I just woken up when I recorded this, but alright. Back to it. But yeah, it's wild. Why, especially with how this movie has been advertised, why would they start the movie like that? Safdie was very intentional with that. Incredibly intentional. The ending is in the beginning. The ending is in the beginning. But the really interesting thing about that is that one moment of deciding to have sex with his girlfriend, she's married, it's complicated, friend. That one time, they've been having an affair, it seems like, for a while, but in that one moment, Marty made a choice, whether he thinks he did or not. And for a lot of the movie, he doesn't think that he's making choices, but he is. And he makes that choice, and the whole movie is about him coming to terms with making responsibility for those choices that he doesn't realize the consequences of in the moment, or refuses to acknowledge the consequences of in the moment. It is a story of going from cowardice to fully accepting existentialism, fully accepting one's responsibility. In explaining what existentialism is, Sartre says this: man is condemned to be free. Okay? That's basically what existentialism means. And by this, he means, quote, that is what I mean when I say that man is condemned to be free. Condemned because he did not create himself, yet nonetheless free because once cast into the world, remember that opening scene? Once cast into the world, he is responsible for everything that he does. Existentialists do not believe in the power of passion. They will never regard a great passion as a devastating torrent that inevitably compels a man to commit certain acts and which therefore is an excuse. They think that man is responsible for his own passion. That's Marty's struggle throughout the whole movie. He is coming to terms with the fact that he is responsible, whether he likes it or not. Whether he wants to be responsible or not, he is responsible. And throughout the movie, he keeps relying on this trope that is so frequently used in sports media. This is why I think this is also a great sports movie. People think it's not a great sports movie, and it's not in the formulaic sense. But it is a critique of sports movies in a lot of ways. It's a critique of a lot of things. I could say so much about this movie. Oh my god. But sports movies often have this like driving passion to them, right? The main character just has to play this game because it's all that they are, and you know, it's like what they were put on this earth to do. Marty literally says he was born with a talent. He says Rachel wasn't born with a talent, so she doesn't understand, but he was born with a talent, so he needs to do this because he owes the world something because of his talent. What he doesn't understand in that moment is, and throughout most of the movie is, that passion is 100% created by him. It is 100% on him. And he cannot keep focusing on this thing outside of himself, tennis, as the bearer of responsibility. He also puts responsibility on many other people. Through his manipulation, he'll say, oh, this person did this to me. I'm just in this situation. He is constantly offloading responsibility, which is a very narcissistic and selfish thing to do. He's a bit of a bastard. But in many ways, he is also a coward. There is no such thing as a cowardly temperament. There are nervous temperaments, or poor blood, as ordinary folks call it, or rich temperaments. But just because a man has poor blood does not make him a coward. For what produces cowardice is the act of giving up or giving in. A temperament is not an action. People are defined by their actions. Marty is defined by his actions. A coward is defined by the action he has taken. What people are obscurely feeling, what Marty is obscurely feeling, and what horrifies them is that the coward as we present him is guilty of his cowardice. People would prefer to be born a coward or born a hero. Now, to actually get into the movie a little bit, now that I've been recording for 17 minutes. Marty is basically the stranger. He is Camus the stranger. He is an absurdist throughout the entire movie. But he changes from a selfish and cowardly absurdism to one that accepts responsibility and becomes humanistic by the end. As we said at the beginning of the movie, accidentally gets a girl pregnant. But, according to Sartre, that is still on him. He still has to take responsibility for that action because everything he did is what led up to that action. Throughout the movie, Marty's trying to he's trying to beat this main guy, Endo. He is the best table tennis player in Japan and also the best table tennis player in the world. He beats Marty in England at the championship, and then the rest of the movie is Marty trying to get to the next year's championship in Tokyo, Japan, so he can beat Endo, so he can prove that he's the best player in the world. Very classic sports movie setup. Very classic. What makes Marty different is that he is just this absolute bastard. You absolutely hate him. And yet you're cheering for him. A lot like in The Stranger. He is, in many ways, innocent. He goes through life with this kind of fuck it, we ball mentality. and thinks that, you know, the world is his oyster. He can do whatever he wants. He can get away with things because of who he is. He manipulates so many people and he gets away with it so much because he doesn't fit within the confines that society has put him in. He doesn't see laws as things that need to be strictly upheld. He doesn't see morals or things like caring for his family or friends and loved ones as something that is an obligation for him. For him, life is all about him, and that does make him a narcissist, but in many ways, he is also an absurdist in that, like the stranger, he does what he wants because he wants to, or because it's necessary for some goal that he wants, namely table tennis. However, he also makes a lot of really bad decisions. People are charmed by him. They are willing to give him things. He's invited by the old champion to go and work with the Harlem Globetrotters. That's huge for a kid from New York City who has nothing. Harlem Globetrotters, crazy. Refuses it at first. Mr. Rockwell, the pen billionaire, offers him free trip to Japan to beat Endo at the championship on the condition that Marty lose a match that is happening before the championship and that is just purely for entertainment and production purposes. Marty, once again, says no at first. Then, throughout the movie, he is constantly realizing that his actions or his choices are leading to outcomes that he doesn't want, that he's making the wrong choices. He ends up going and actually agreeing to work with the Harlem Globetrotters for a while. And he eventually comes back and begs Rockwell for a chance for a trip to Japan. And Rockwell eventually, and with a lot of concessions, including spanking him in front of a bunch of other rich men, gives it to him. So people are willing to give Marty things. They're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he just goes by whim. He lives completely in the present, just like the stranger. He moves from moment to moment, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like this story and think it's disjointed. Because it is. But that's on purpose. It is that disjointed because Marty is so consumed with the present moment. He doesn't think about the future. I mean, he does in that he's thinking about like the championship and things like that, but he's not planning for the future. He's just moving from moment to moment, trying to make money in any way possible, trying to get by. And he's not thinking in a way that brings into account other people, other possibilities, his own future possibilities, and what his actions might do for himself. So in many ways, he's like the stranger. You know, he'll shoot a guy, literally just like the stranger. He will shoot a guy and not have any compulsions about it, not worry about it at all, except that it might get him in trouble. And in that way, he does differ from the stranger. The stranger has almost no emotion, which is pretty much impossible for any human, and I think that's what makes The Stranger a really unique book. There's a lot to go into on The Stranger as well. But Marty does have some sort of self-preservation. And that's one thing that separates him from the stranger, is he does worry about his own existence. And that is why he is at heart selfish and cowardly, is because he is worried about his own existence. But not only is he the stranger, Marty is also Sisyphus. He is constantly pushing his boulder up a hill, only for it to fall back down again. His boulder being winning the championship and beating Endo, being the best table tennis player. And he's constantly losing throughout the movie. It's just a series of him barely getting by. Even at the end, when after the fake match And after he realizes he's not going to be in the championship, he challenges Endo to a real match. He does win by a point. But at least in my opinion, he doesn't win. Really. Like, Endo's a little disappointed. He's very humble about it and sweet, and Marty is understandably very happy because he's proved something to himself. He really, at that point, he's just doing it for himself. He's not doing it for anything else. He's doing it for him, which is in line with his character. But he is no longer trying to achieve that big goal that he had set out for in the original, in the beginning. He's accepted reality, and he's accepted that his choices have led him to this moment, and he's going to make the best out of that moment, and he is going to be happy even in the moment when he doesn't get what he wants. And that's really interesting. Camus says we should imagine Sisyphus happy. That's the absurdism of it all. He's happy even though there's no meaning in it. Marty is happy about winning this match that's not the championship, even though there's no meaning in it. Even though he goes back home and is still banned. Still banned from the league. He's happy. He's happy in himself. It has finally become enough. After a movie of constantly everything not being enough, everything not being good enough for him, he has finally reached a point where he says, you know what? I'm content. This is enough. He is happy in the meaninglessness. It has no meaning except what he makes of it, which is prime existentialism. That is, I have to put my tea down because I'm getting too wild about this. Hopefully I'm not shaking my camera because it is on a stack of books on my desk. If it is, I apologize, but also I don't really care. I could try to find the quote in here. I'm not going to right now. Just trust me, bro. It's in here. I read this at work last night, so yeah. Anyways, trust me, bro. The existentialism is about making your own meaning. There is no meaning except what man makes for himself. Existence, prime bit of this is that existence comes before essence. Marty exists. In the beginning of the movie, he's there. You can see him. He's a dick. He's a major dick. I hated him for most of the movie, but also I loved him because you can hate me if you want. I fucking love a glorious bastard. Yes, that's what I'm calling them. I'm pretty sure it's not exactly that. Magnificent Bastard? I think it's Magnificent Bastard. But I like Glorious Bastard because it sounds like Inglourious Bastards, and I love that movie. Anyways, that is neither here nor there. What is here and there is that Marty exists at the beginning of the movie. What is the beginning of the movie? Remember? What is the opening credits scene? It is conception. It is literally a depiction of, quite literally, conception. At the, like, not molecular level, but you get what I'm saying. Cellular level? Whatever. Existence. Without meaning. Because it's an accidental pregnancy. He wasn't specifically choosing in that moment to have a child. But it happens anyways. Existence precedes essence. Essence comes when the choices are made. And when responsibility for the choices is accepted. That is what creates essence. That is what creates morality. That is what creates meaning. Humans are the creators of their own essence. They are themselves creating humanity. And that's what I love about existentialism. It's beautiful. It's weird. It's wacky. It's horrifying, but it's beautiful. And I think very accurate. You can disagree with me if you want, that's fine. That's not what this is about. This is just about saying that this film is very much in this philosophical tradition. You can take it or leave it, but it definitely is in this philosophical tradition. And slight tangent, this is such a rambly video. I don't care. This is for me. If you couldn't tell already, this is so for me. I am so scared, and I'll get to it at the end. I am so scared that this film is going to be so vastly, I'm waiting. I actually went and looked it up to see if fucking Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Michael Knowles, any of those conservative right-wing fucks, I'm waiting for one of them who watch movies, because they do. I've seen Ben Shapiro's movie reviews. They're terrible, but I've seen them. I'm waiting for one of them to say that this is a movie about a man discovering that God and family are what's most important, and that this is a redemption story. It's not. It's not a redemption story. By the end, Marty's still a dick. Marty's still a bad person in so far as anyone can be said to be morally bad. He's an asshole. But he does learn some things. But this is not a story about discovering family and God as the most important parts of one's life. No, it is about realizing the responsibility one has for one's own choices and choosing to actively take control of one's life to make one's own meaning and not just leave it all up to passion, the passion of the game, or whatever. It's about becoming humanist. That is what this movie is about. So if I see anyone, and I know I will, unless they all hate this movie, which they all very much might. A lot of people hate this movie. Incorrectly, I think. I didn't like watching it, I will say. While I was watching it, hated Marty. Felt gross in some parts. I'm like, wow, this absolute scumbag. In a lot of ways, it felt like Game of Thrones, where the protagonist is not a good person, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. And honestly, it's a great movie. I loved it so much. Very similar to like well, no, I don't want to say that because that's not true, but I'm just thinking of other awful protagonists that I love. Like Eren Yeager, Jaime Lannister, although Jaime does get a bit of a redemption arc. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. Anyways, back to the actual movie. Oh, yes. Another thing with Sisyphus, that I just thought was so interesting, and maybe this is just a me thing. It might very well just be a me thing, and I might be very much reading too much into this, but I don't care. I'm gonna say so much about how the curtains were blue, and not care if anyone thinks I'm being stupid. Ping pong is, or table tennis, is Marty's boulder. It's his Sisyphean task. It's something he can never win. And I think actually table tennis is a really good representation of that, honestly. No disrespect to the game at all, but it is a back and forth. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until somebody loses, right? Until somebody misses. In that way, it's very similar to the idea of Sisyphus, constantly rolling a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down again. This kind of back and forth in perpetuity. And if you have two really good table tennis players, you can go for a really long time before somebody misses. So in that way, the game itself is very Sisyphean. And people do it for the love of the game. For the love of the game. Because they want to. They are happy not for any intrinsic reason, but because they choose to be happy. Because they choose to enjoy themselves doing it. Now that's not to say that there's nothing enjoyable about that game. But I think it's a good analogy. The motion, the action of the game is a really good metaphor for the action that you can think about in the metaphor of Sisyphus, in the myth of Sisyphus, by Camus. Okay. Also, can we talk about the dog? I think the dog is such a huge part of the movie, but everyone keeps saying it could have been cut. Not everyone. I've seen a lot of reviews online saying it could have been cut. I don't think it could have been. I think the dog was very intentional. I think everything that this director and the writer, I don't actually know if the writer is the same as the director, I should look that up. But whoever wrote this and the director very clearly had a clear vision. Safdie really knew what he was doing. Marty's Jewish heritage is a huge part of this movie. I say heritage and not religion just because I see him he wears the necklace a lot, the Star of David, but I don't remember religion specifically being important to him. And that tracks with existentialism. Because for the most part, it is more of a very, you can be an existentialist and be religious, absolutely. But it definitely is more of an atheistic, philosophy. Very much Nietzsche, very much, yeah, Sartre, Camus, that kind of deal. So his heritage is very important. What's the dog's name? What's the dog's name? Do we know what the dog's name is? Oh goodness, I'm getting too close to my light. Marty makes a point of looking at the dog collar and going, huh, Moses. Now, I grew up Christian, so I know a good bit about the Bible. Moses is Sisyphus. And hear me out on this. Man was chosen by God to lead God's chosen people, the Israelites, out of Egypt, right? They'd been in captivity and slavery for 400 years. And so it was finally time for them to go out and get the promised land. The promised land. What was promised to Marty? What did he know he was going to do? Be the greatest player in the world, okay? Already a parallel. He's going out of New York into the big wide world to find his promised land. Kind of. There's a parallel there for sure. Along the way, shenanigans happen. Great way to describe the Old Testament. Shenanigans happen. There is a moment where Moses makes a decision. And the people make a decision at another moment. And these two decisions have two very specific consequences. Number one, Moses' decision to strike a rock for water, as he had done in the past, as a miracle, instead of doing what God told him to do, which was slightly different, and I can't remember at the moment exactly what it was. But basically he disobeyed God. God let the miracle still happen, but also he said Moses must face the consequences for his actions. The consequence was he would never see the promised land. Marty must face the consequences of his actions, the consequence being he's not getting back into the tournament. One of his earliest decisions to manipulate his way into a suite at the Ritz, and then his decisions while at the Ritz to spend a lot of money made him incur a huge fine, which keeps him from, which bans him from the league, keeps him from the tournament. So even though he never truly faced repercussions for his actions, he could just not pay the fine. He did end up having to face the repercussion of not being able to get back in the league and not being able to see the promised land, aka that championship in Tokyo. Second decision that's made, that's important in the Old Testament, is that the people of Israel decide to disobey God, and for that decision, he tells them that they must wander in the wilderness for 40 years. And so, just like Moses, everyone who was around for that would be dead by the time they actually get to the promised land. So they were not going to see, the only person who actually saw the promised land that was there for that, I think, was Joshua. Maybe other people, I might be wrong. But like Joshua was the leader after Moses. So the dog is named Moses. Marty's Jewish. This isn't coincidental. The dog is lost, stuck in this guy's house for a long time, and they're trying to get him out because the dog is the instrument to the promised land. The dog, if they get him, they think they can get more money from the guy who the dog belongs to. They want enough money for Marty to go to the championship and to get back into the league. But they find out through some very gruesome means and some huge fights, shootouts, crazy shenanigans. They find out that it's not possible. They can't get Moses. And a lot of people end up dying in the process. The promised land is not given to them. And so when people say, oh, I think the dog part should be cut out. It doesn't add anything. Like, it was too long. No. The dog is very much part of the point. It shows the futility. It shows the inability to get what they want. It shows the Sisyphean-ness of Marty's endeavor throughout this whole film. So that's my little tangent to say that actually no, the dog is really important and he should not be cut. Everyone who thinks he should be, rewatch the movie. Anyways, I swear I'm almost done. I think we should finally get to that crazy ending. It's not that crazy. It was there from the beginning. We knew what was going to happen. Marty loses, and he leaves back to New York. There's nothing left for him in Japan. And so he finds a way to get on a flight with a bunch of US military guys, because they loved him at the exhibition. Gets back to New York. He has options at this point, but he's finally realized that his actions have consequences. He can't get himself out of everything. Life is not a joke. Life may not have a lot of meaning, except what we make of it, as he will learn, but it's not a joke. There are limits. He is not God. And so what does he do? He goes back to New York and he decides to take stock of his choices. He walks into the hospital where Rachel is. He gets to the hospital, and who's the first person he sees? The first person he makes eye contact with? It's his mother. His mother, who this whole movie he's been blowing off and ignoring, even though she's been so concerned about him. He hasn't been visiting her. He hasn't been home. He hasn't been telling her things. And yes, his mother has her own problems. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. But he's very much like Camus' Stranger in that he doesn't go to visit his mother because he just doesn't want to. He just doesn't care. And at the end of the movie, he sees her and he says, "Hi, Mom." He acknowledges her, which, if we go back to the first time we see him interacting with her after the big championship, where he loses to Endo, his first words to her are, I'm not going to remember it exactly, but something along the lines of, "Please don't eat in my room, it attracts bugs." See the difference? He's still an asshole. Don't get me wrong. He's still a dick. But there's something different there. He's taking responsibility. He's realizing that his actions affect others, which is another core tenet of existentialism. You take responsibility for your own actions, because by creating meaning, by creating morality, you are not only creating it for yourself, but for everyone else. One of the big things that Sartre asks in his lecture, Existentialism is a Humanism, he asks, what if everybody did? That is something we need to ask. What if everybody did? A lot of people say, but everybody doesn't. That's what Marty would say. But everybody doesn't. I'm me. I do what I want and other people don't. Who cares? But by making those decisions, he is saying that they are good decisions to make for humanity. And then when those kind of decisions come back around and bite him in the ass because other people start to treat him like he treats other people, he realizes. He realizes that he needs to take responsibility. And so he comes back. He acknowledges his mother. He goes and sees Rachel. He's very tender to her in a way that he hasn't been the whole movie. Even when he saw her, he completely ignored that she was pregnant for so long. Even though he knew it was his. He knew it was his. But he didn't want to acknowledge it until she forced him to acknowledge it. And even then, he was like, it's not mine. It's not mine. I always pull out. What are you talking about? But he knew. And so, that's why when he runs into the hospital and someone asks him if he needs to sign in, he says, no, I'm the father. He's finally taking responsibility. Finally acknowledging that his actions have consequences. And the consequence is that he's now a dad. And so, get to the very last moments of the movie, where he goes and actually sees his child for the first time. And this is acted so beautifully, because it's a little bit of an awkward scene, I'm not gonna lie. It's not joyful per se, although I think some people might interpret it as that, and I think it's fine if they do. It's overwhelming is the best way to describe it. He sees his child and just breaks down. He is sobbing. And this is the first time we've really seen him display much emotional range in the movie. And that's not to say that he isn't emotional. Marty's very emotional. He gets very angry, very aggressive. But he's also very go with the wind. Like he'll be concerned, but he'll never be fearful per se. In this moment, he is experiencing fear because he's realizing that he has to deal with this child. But he's also experiencing joy because, oh my God, he has a kid and the kid is beautiful and he doesn't know what to do with that. And he's experiencing sadness because this is changing his life. Like any new parent, he's experiencing this wide range of emotions. And all that he can do, after all of his yapping, all of his trying to manipulate his way in and out of things, all of his vast movement, Marty is constantly on the move. Like in table tennis, he's constantly back and forth throughout this whole movie. Bang, bang, bang. And then in this moment, all he can do is sit there and look at the child and cry. That's it. And it's because he's finally realizing that he is making choices that affect people outside of himself and that he wants to change, I think. Again, he's still an asshole. He still has a long, long way to go. But he's finally come into that humanist part of existentialism. He is not the stranger. The stranger goes to the electrical is it the electrical chair? I think he actually gets hanged. Whatever happens, the stranger dies. Actually, it might be the electrical chair. It's been a minute since I read The Stranger. I need to go back and read it. The stranger dies and doesn't care. Marty is the opposite of that, but also the same. Opposite side of the coin. In that, he decides that he wants to care. And because he wants to care, he wants to do the right thing by those people that he actually does care about, that he's refused to acknowledge that he cares about. And he's not doing it for anything outside of himself. He has no reason. He doesn't have to do any of this. He could still keep being the same asshole he's always been. He could still keep trying to get back into the league. But no. He's finally taking accountability. He's finally taking responsibility. And that is why I think that this is such a beautiful representation of the ideas of Sartre and Camus, of existentialism as a humanism. Existentialism, absurdism, it's wild, it's insane, it's stupid at times, it's funny. But ultimately, it comes down to the humanistic bit of it all, right? That human condition of working together to create a world that we want to see. And there is no hope in that. Like Sartre says, it is a stern optimism because there is no hope that somebody else will do what you want them to do. There is only the belief that you can do what you think is best and that you have a responsibility to do the things that you believe will bring about good things in the world. You have a responsibility to pursue your own idea of morality and ethics because you are the only one that you can trust to do that. I gotta make this real quick because my battery's dying again. But quick wrap up. Thank you so much for sitting through this. If you did, holy shit. I don't know why you decided you wanted to listen to me ramble, and I love you. Please subscribe if you're interested. Anyways, Noodle Boy should deserve an Oscar for this. Everyone in this movie deserves an Oscar. They all did great, except Kevin O'Leary. Fuck that man, I hate him. Yeah, great movie. Go watch Marty Supreme. Go read philosophy. And I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching again. Bye!